FBI is investigating a man who may have left 2 suspicious packages at a West Virginia federal building. The probe comes as lawmakers call on social media companies to address a growing number of threats against the federal government. Skylar Henry has more from Washington.
The leaders of 2 House panels sent these letters to 8 social media companies, demanding they address threats on their platforms against federal law enforcement officials. There's been a surge in calls for violence following the FBI's search.
I'd say in terms of volume, it absolutely is similar to what we saw in the lead up to January 6th.
Alex Friedfeld tracks extremism with the Anti-Defamation League.
So what are you noticing in terms of trends, whether they hashtag or just conversations, and does that rise to a level of concern for you and your team?
We are seeing widespread calls for civil war. There is this sense on the right that the time for politics is over and it is now the time for bullets.
Last week, authorities arrested 46-year-old Adam B., saying the Pennsylvania man threatened to kill FBI agents. The week before, Ricky Schiffer was killed after attempting to breach the FBI office in Cincinnati. Federal officials say the Ohio man posted a call to arms on former President Trump's social media site, Truth Social, and urged people to be ready for combat. Prior to breaching the FBI office, Schiffer wrote, "If you don't hear from me, it's true. I tried attacking the FBI." Last week, Trump posted about a great simmering anger, but other Republicans are distancing themselves from the tension.
It's completely wrong, right? It's completely wrong, but that's not where 99% of Republicans are at, of course.
House panel leaders have requested a response from the social media companies by September 2nd regarding the number of threats on their platforms and if they're reporting them to law enforcement. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
For more on this, Nicole Sganga joins us now. She is CBS News Homeland, Security, and Justice reporter. Nicole, thanks so much for joining us. As we've been reporting, former President Trump's lawyers have filed for a special master in the case. How is the Justice Department responding?
Nicole, good to be with you. And the Department of Justice just putting out its statement from spokesman Anthony Coley. I want to read it here for our viewers because it is only 3 lines. It says the August 8th search warrant at Mar-a-Lago was authorized by a federal court. Upon the required finding of probable cause, the department is aware of this evening's motion. The United States will file its response in court. Now, we are still awaiting guidance regarding a timeline on when we should anticipate that response from the U.S. government. But this comes already at a very busy week for lawyers, counsel representing the United States here who have already been working on their brief, their version of the redacted affidavit, probable cause affidavit that is due in court on Thursday. Now also responding to this motion from former President Trump's legal team, saying you can expect a response on that one, too.
And what have we learned thus far from the former president's legal team, that is, about what was going on in the days heading up to the search?
Yeah, so in addition to the motion itself, there were some details that were alleged by the former president's legal team regarding what took place prior to the FBI's authorized search of Mar-a-Lago. In particular, Mr. Trump's legal team alleging that on June 8th, 2022, Mr. Bratt, who is, of course, counsel for the U.S. government, requested that the storage room that was being used to house these documents be secured. The legal team here saying that Mr. Trump, in response, directed his team to place a second lock on the door to the storage room, and one was added, and that members of his personal and household staff were made available for voluntary interviews with the FBI. That is the first time we're learning that information, Nicole. Also on June 22nd, 2022, we're learning, according to Mr. Trump's legal team, the government subpoenaed the custodian of records for the Trump organization to seek that surveillance video of Mar-a-Lago, and the legal team here saying that they also provided that video surveillance to the FBI in June.
And as you alluded to, we'll also get a possible decision or ruling later this week with respect to that affidavit regarding the search warrant of the Mar-a-Lago property. And so in terms of the judge in that case, he issued another memo today. What did that say in terms of whether or not he may green light release or some redactions with respect to this affidavit?
Well, we certainly anticipate that Judge Reinhardt in this case will greenlight certain redactions. He's made clear in the courtroom last week that he, while not comfortable releasing a full affidavit, is also not comfortable straight up saying no. And so, it remains to be seen what counsel for the government will come back to him with on Thursday. But one thing that was made clear in the judge's memo put out today is that he is aware that there have been increased threats to FBI personnel and government officials since the search. And he noted, quote, given the public notoriety and controversy about this search, it's likely that even witnesses who are not expressly named in the affidavit would be quickly and broadly identified over social media and other communication channels, which could lead them to being harassed and intimidated. So the judge, recognizing here that there is a threat to the personal security of law enforcement, federal prosecutors, and witnesses connected to this ongoing investigation of the former president. And of course, we know that the judge here, Bruce Reinhardt, is intimately familiar with some of those sensitivities. He himself has been doxed. Personal information about his family and his address have been revealed online in the days after the search warrant was first unsealed. And so the judge, expressing here that he is not only okay with some of those redactions of names being made, but also descriptions that could be used to track down some of the individuals connected to this ongoing investigation. Ultimately, that means that what we see, be it Thursday or in the weeks to come, of the affidavit might include significant redactions, particularly when it comes to any identifying information, descriptors that could be traced back to those individuals who are cooperating or actively working on this probe.
And then very briefly, in about 30 seconds or so, what can you tell us about the current threat environment toward law enforcement?
Yeah, so currently law enforcement on high alert. Of course, the FBI has seen an uptick in the number of threats, even in the judge's memo today. Reinhardt pointing out that in the aftermath of the FBI's authorized search, we saw a gunman arrive in Cincinnati at an FBI field office. Later deceased, but attempt to have a confrontation with law enforcement there, bringing an AR-15 style rifle. In addition, after certain media blog outlets revealed the identities of two FBI officials allegedly connected to this case, that those individuals, those officers had received similar death threats that surfaced online. And so we know that this is a heightened threat environment.
All right, Nicole Sganga, thanks so much.
Thank you.